This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
From trusted cabinet member to FBI target. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. FBI agents raiding the home of President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. The raid was carried out this morning in Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of D.C. Fox's David Spunt.
We believe John Bolton was home. We're told that he is not in custody and he's not under arrest. The FBI not commenting, the Justice Department not commenting, but two senior government sources say that FBI agents are looking specifically for classified documents that may have been classified.
FBI Director Kash Patel wrote on X about that raid, quote, "No one is above the law." Bolton's a frequent Trump critic, was previously accused of leaking classified material. Surf still up along the U.S. East Coast, even as Hurricane Erin continues to head out to sea. While that high surf might be tempting for those who like to ride the waves, this woman in Ocean City, New Jersey, tells CBS.
I haven't been to the beach at all. It's been disgusting down here. I want to go surfing. The waves are insane. I'm going to get wiped out if I even try to go surfing.
New York City meteorologist Tony Sadiku.
Along the coast, from the mid-Atlantic all the way to New England, be mindful. We've got not just coastal flooding issues today, but also high surf and rip currents risk all the way through tomorrow.
Erin's impact prompting concerns about major beach erosion, including on Long Island. Reading between the lines, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell delivering the keynote address this morning at an annual Fed meeting, all ears on whether he might hint at any change in interest rates. He seemed to leave the window open at least a tad.
In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. Our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago. And the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance.
That Fed rate, a key number in determining the interest rates we all pay on mortgages, credit cards, and the like. It's been a sore spot for President Trump. Meantime, Trump praising law enforcement in Washington, D.C. after meeting with officers Thursday, thanking them for cooperating with the federal takeover of the city's police as part of a crackdown on crime, disputing others who say crime there was already down.
I watched these phony reports. Oh, we were on the way back. They weren't on the way back. It was worse than ever.
The Justice Department says it's looking into whether D.C. officials manipulated crime data to make rates appear lower. Some federal budget cutting continues. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard planning some big cuts in her department, telling Fox News.
The changes that I'm making at ODNI is just the very first step to bring about an end to this dangerous politicization of intelligence that ultimately is undermining our national security and our republic.
Gabbard claims the reductions will save taxpayers $700 million and help rebuild the American public's trust in the federal government. The United Nations has made an official declaration of a famine situation in Gaza. The UN's Tom Fletcher.
It is a famine. The Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented.
Israel's foreign minister, though, says that famine declaration is based on Hamas lies filtered through organizations with vested interests. Texas state lawmakers may finalize a redistricting move today aimed at beefing up the numbers of Republicans in the U.S. House. Governor Greg Abbott says it's just a response to previous and widespread Democratic Party gerrymandering.
These blue states had already gerrymandered their states so dramatically, there's really hardly any Republicans they can squeeze out of congressional districts.
But in response to the Texas move, California Democrats making their own redistricting efforts. Governor Gavin Newsom signing a measure Thursday that calls for a special election aiming to redraw that state's maps that would likely give Democrats 5 additional seats, says Newsom.
When all things are equal, we're all playing by the same set of rules. There's no question that the Republican Party will be the minority party in the House of Representatives next year.
That's statewide vote in California to be held in November. Employment visas for commercial truck drivers are being put on hold after a driver who was in the U.S. illegally was involved in a deadly crash. Authorities say 28-year-old Harjinder Singh was driving a commercial truck trailer on the Florida Turnpike earlier this month when he allegedly made a U-turn in an unauthorized area, jackknifed it, and killed 3 people in a minivan. He's back in Florida after fleeing to the West Coast. Post.
He took the opportunity during the investigation to flee to the state of California, hoping that he was going to get some sort of sanctuary policy to save him from justice.
St. Lucie County, Florida Sheriff Richard Del Toro Jr. On Thursday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the increasing number of foreign drivers operating large rigs is endangering American lives. Well, as a group, doctors are a pretty tired bunch, working long hours, especially early in their careers. Some are hoping that artificial intelligence might lighten the load.
More than half of doctors in the U.S. report feeling burnout, but a new study suggests AI can help. Research by Mass General Brigham and Emory Healthcare showed that doctors who used AI programs to record patient visits and write up clinical notes said they experienced 21% less burnout.
CBS's Michael George, who knows AI, perhaps the RX for MDs. Still to come here on the Noon Report, an area Christian student with a win for free expression, a concerning new report on helping the aging in New York State, and a Chautauqua County boy sees an entire community rally behind him.
A very good afternoon to all. I'm Kevin Williams, calling for On Balance, a pleasant day today, but some of us could still catch a shower or a thunder shower. That being said, forecast hotels are up in 10.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live in New York and Pennsylvania. A Western New York school district that barred a rising high school senior from displaying a Bible verse and the word God on her school parking lot is now backed down after attorneys from First Liberty sent the Grand Island Central School District a demand letter on her behalf. Student Sabrina Stevens tells WKBW,
just because you're young doesn't mean you don't have power to bring change into your schools, into your life.
First Liberty attorney Keisha Russell hopes the outcome serves as a lesson for
other school districts that see the situation may be hesitant to do that without making sure that what they're doing is actually constitutional. And, also parents will see it. And I just think it's really great when things like this happen and we don't have to resort to very costly and expensive litigation.
In a statement, Grand Island Superintendent Brian Graham says, quote, "We strongly dispute any assertion that our policies or decisions violated the rights of any student." Sabrina runs a Bible club at that school. One of her submitted art designs that the district tried to ban included the Bible verse John 14:6. God is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. A new report from State Controller Thomas DiNapoli says thousands of New Yorkers remain stuck on wait lists for in-home care, meals, and other essential support services. The level of shortfall varies by region. Erie County's Department of Aging Commissioner Randy Hoke tells WGRZ the need level there isn't critical, but is persistent.
We've seen an increase in demands. Our wait lists, they fluctuate, but we know that the needs persist. There are older adults that are in need, and that we need to continue to fund these programs.
The state report raises questions about just how efficiently and transparently funding is being spent to address the needs of the state's aging population. A young Chautauqua County boy severely injured in a bike accident faces a long recovery, but has a whole community standing by him. Just over a week ago, 8-year-old Tucker Brewer was struck by an alleged drunk driver while riding his bike near his Cassadaga home. He was airlifted to Oishei Children's Hospital in Buffalo. He had a fractured skull, broken fibula, and spinal injuries, but his mother Morgan tells WKBW Tucker's already back home and on the mend.
Tucker is Tucker, and everybody who knows him knows that he's quite a unique child. He's very strong-willed, very stubborn, and I think that's helped him through this whole thing. His spirits are up high. I think he knows that he's going to be okay. It's just going to take time.
The Cassadaga community welcomed Tucker home with a parade of trucks and cars filing past his home, organized by neighbors and friends, a gesture his mom says meant a lot to Tucker and the entire family. A GoFundMe's been set up to help the family with medical expenses. A man's facing several charges for allegedly making terroristic threats against a Pennsylvania Catholic elementary school. On Wednesday, the Epiphany Catholic School in Sayre evacuated and closed after police say it got 3 emails threatening to blow it up. Students were sent home. A search turned up nothing, but investigators say they traced those emails back to Ronald Anthony Fiorello, a 62-year-old former resident of the area who now lives in Colorado, but who was arrested in Rapid City, South Dakota. He's expected to be extradited back to PA soon to face 3 third-degree felony charges. The Epiphany School remains closed today. Panic turned to outrage at Villanova University after an active shooter alert was revealed to be a hoax. Students and staff told to shelter in place yesterday, though police later confirmed confirmed there was no real threat, no victims, no evidence of a shooting. This law school student was among those who got quite a scare, though.
Initially, we were definitely afraid for our own safety. We ran off campus, and a nice man led us into his home. Hopefully, everyone can move on from this situation in a good manner and continue on with their lives.
Delaware County DA Jack Stolzmeyer says whoever was responsible will be prosecuted.
Because if this was indeed a cruel hoax, this is a crime, and we will track you down if it's the last thing we do.
So far, though, no word on who might have been responsible. During a visit to a Blair County farm yesterday, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro asked if there's been any progress in the state budget negotiations. He says it's all about compromise.
We are now at a point, though, where each of the leaders, Senate Republican leaders, House Democratic leaders, they got to make some tough choices to close this out. I was on the phone with the Republican leader yesterday, Democratic leader this morning. We are working to bridge those differences.
The new state budget in PA was due July 1st. Matchups all set for the final weekend of the Little League World Series in South Williamsport, PA. Las Vegas, Nevada taking down Irmo, South Carolina 5-3 in the U.S. bracket. Aruba got past Venezuela 3-1 on the international side. Garrett Gallego smashed a 3-run homer for Vegas. A thrill for him, of course, as well as his dad, Eddie.
He's a perfectionist, and he's just always beating himself up. And for him to come out and play like this is just phenomenal.
The semifinals set for Saturday. Vegas taking on Fairfield, Connecticut for the U.S. title, while Chinese Taipei battles Aruba for the international championship. Third place and the world championship games then played on Sunday. An appropriately windy day on the waterfront as they sailed into Erie, complete with cannon fire. Tall Ships 2025 got underway Thursday with the traditional parade of sail featuring 9 tall ships sailing into port, much to the delight of this man who told Jet TV.
You can't have Erie without Lake Erie, and you can't have Lake Erie without the tall ships, so it all just goes hand in hand.
Bella Gustafson agrees. She's a crewmate aboard the St. Lawrence II.
It gives people a chance to actually see the ships. I mean, when we're all in at the dock, they look all nice and stuff, but they don't get to see us with our sails up. It's not as pretty when you can't see her in her full glory.
Tall Ships Erie runs through Sunday. And a couple of fun food-themed festivals on tap this weekend in PA as well. One takes place in Pittston, where Michael Lombardo's the mayor. He tells WNEP.
The 42nd Annual Tomato Festival here in the city of Pittston. It's an annual tradition that's been long-standing for over 4 decades now. Over the 4 days, we always figure about over 100,000 people show up. The last couple of years, we've had even a little bump in that.
Well, these folks were loving all things tomato yesterday.
I've been coming for 42 years since the first year. It's just the best place to come, and we come every night. We work our way through every stand and try everything.
It's always good food, good atmosphere, good entertainment. It's a good place to come and have a good time.
And if tomatoes aren't quite your thing, and maybe dessert would interest you, downtown Latrobe, PA will be the place this weekend as it hosts the Great American Banana Split celebration. It includes a banana eating challenge and, of course, plenty of ice cream. Word is PA's famous groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, will make a visit there as well. Well, that's how he spends the off-season. Up next, a lot of Big Apple baseball to tell you about. Here's Randy with sports.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Mark, the Yankees began a series, the Mets ended one. But whether they started one or finished a series didn't change the outcomes. They both lost. Rookie Roman Anthony hit a 2-run home run in the 9th inning and drove in 3 in a memorable Yankee Stadium debut as the Red Sox down New York 6-3. Ben Rice went deep for New York. Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Paul Goldschmidt drove in the other runs. All 3 of those guys had 2 hits apiece, but in the end, it was Boston coming out on top. The Nationals beat the Mets in the rubber game of their series 9-3. James Wood crushed a 3-run home run as part of 9 unanswered runs by Washington. New York got long balls from Francisco Lindor and Starling Marte to jump out to a 3-0 lead, but it was all Washington after that. In Minnesota, how about Tyler Soderstrom? His hitting streak now at 19 games after a 4-for-4 night. He walked in his other at-bat, so he reached base all 5 times. And more importantly, his Athletics swept the Twins 8-3. In Kansas City, Vinny Pasquantino homered in his fourth straight game. This time a go-ahead shot in the sixth inning, and the Royals went on to knock off Texas 6-4. The Houston Astros ended their four-game losing streak with a 7-2 victory over the Orioles. Milwaukee beat the Cubs 4-1. The Dodgers thumped Colorado 9-5. The Padres won their third straight, doubling up San Fran 8-4. The Padres and Dodgers square off for a three-game set in San Diego this weekend. LA holds a slim one-game lead over the Fathers. One final score, the Cardinals beat the Rays 7-4. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Still to come here on the Noon Report, the conductor's already punched your ticket. Staycations is headed to Steamtown, USA in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Well, earlier this week, while explaining his effort to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, President Trump said this, quote, "I want to try to get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing that I'm not doing well. I really hit the bottom of the totem pole, but if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons," end quote. Now, many people were quick to jump on the president for that bad theology, but it's a view that's actually very common, including among Christians. According to the 2020 American Worldview Inventory from Arizona Christian University, about half of Americans believe that if a person's generally good or does enough good things during their life, they'll earn a place in heaven. Even worse, about as many evangelicals believe that as do mainline Protestants. According to another 2021 study from Pew Research, nearly 40% of Americans say that believing in God is not even necessary to get to heaven. And a majority of American Christians say that many religions lead to heaven, including non-Christian religions. These are all findings fully consistent with other beliefs that many American Christians hold about humanity and sin. According to the annual State of Theology study conducted by Ligonier Ministries and Lifeway Research, 65% of evangelicals agree that everyone is, and I quote, born innocent in the eyes of God, a position that denies the doctrine of original sin, which is the reason that people need salvation in the first place. 56% of evangelicals agreed with the statement that God accepts the worship of all religions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. That, of course, is a position that denies Jesus' own claim to be the exclusive Savior of the world. 43% of evangelicals agreed that Jesus was a great teacher, but not God. That number was up 13% from 2 years earlier and undermines the very ability of Jesus to be the Savior that we need. 66% of evangelicals agreed that everyone sins a little, but most people are good by nature, and 69% disagreed, contrary to the book of Romans, that even the smallest sin deserves eternal damnation. Back in 1973, Chuck Colson came to know the true gospel and the only hope one has of heaven. According to the words of the Heidelberg Catechism, our only comfort in life and death is that we belong body and soul to the faithful Savior Jesus Christ. It was during a visit with his friend Tom Phillips that Chuck Colson came to understand this essential truth. Here's how he put it in his own words. He read to me from Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, particularly a chapter about the great sin of pride. A proud man's always walking through life looking down on other people and other things, said Lewis. And as a result, he cannot see something above himself that's immeasurably superior, God. That night, as Tom was telling me about Jesus, I listened attentively, but didn't let on about my own need. When he offered to pray, I thanked him, but said no. I would talk to him again sometime after I had read C.S. Lewis's book. But when I got in the car that night, I couldn't even drive it out of the driveway. Ex-Marine captain, White House tough guy, I was crying too hard, calling out to God. I didn't know what to say. I just knew I needed Jesus, and he came into my life, end quote. In response to the president's statement about heaven, the Babylon Bee posted this, quote, God agrees to let Trump into heaven if he repents of his sin and trusts in Jesus Christ alone for salvation. Now that headline, unlike most of their headlines, is not satire at all. That's simply the good news. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. And for a version of this commentary that you can download, print out, or share with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
All right, let's check out weather next with Kevin.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for this afternoon. Sunshine, scattered mixed clouds. Best chance for shower or thunderstorm will be across eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures in the 80s, that humidity heading down. Tonight turns out mainly clear, low temps dropping towards 60. For tomorrow and Saturday, a good deal of sunshine, although an isolated shower or thunderstorm cannot be ruled out across central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures ranging in the 80s, humidity on the increase on Saturday. Showers and storms likely region-wide then on Sunday.
All right, we'll look ahead for that. Thank you very much, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. Once upon a time, rail was king, and Pennsylvania was a rail hub with few peers. Welcome to Family Life Staycations, a summertime feature where we highlight great places to visit around the Family Life listening area. I'm Mark Webster, and this week, climb aboard. We're off to Scranton, PA. Next stop, Steamtown.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day.
Our conductor for this audio tour of the Steamtown National Historic Site is Park Ranger Erica Kennedy. Steamtown has been around for quite a while now, and what I found interesting looking into the history a bit, it didn't actually start out where it is now.
Yeah, so we get our name Steamtown, USA from F. Nelson Blout's collection that he started in Vermont, and unfortunately he passed away unexpectedly in 1967. So his collection of steam locomotives was just kind of there in Vermont for people to go see. Mm-hmm. But there weren't a lot of people coming all the way up to Vermont. So in the 1980s, they decided to start relocating his collection down to Scranton at the former DL&W rail yard. But in the process of relocating those trains, Steamtown USA essentially went bankrupt or ran out of money after a couple years. So on October 30th, 1986, Congress made the site a historic site. And then in 1995, we had our grand opening here at the current site.
Well, pardon the pun, but since then, once you went through all those original growing pains, you really did pick up steam. And yeah. It's been kind of full steam ahead ever since. It's now part of the National Park Service, so that certainly made a difference, I think, in how the operation runs. So give us a little idea of what people are going to see when they come to visit Steamtown, USA.
Well, we still have that large collection of steam locomotives, but we also have the historic rail yard of the DL&W, and that stands for Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western. So this rail yard was started in the 1850s, and so you're going to see the site of one of the original roundhouses, which obviously has evolved and changed over time. The visitor center does have some incredible photographs and a timeline to help you understand the changes in the roundhouse over time.
I'm sure some of our younger listeners might not even know what a roundhouse is.
Yeah. Well, a roundhouse is, just like the name implies, round and circular. It is made up of stalls. At its height, our roundhouse had 46 stalls. And so in each stall, they could have a train, and it would come in for an inspection. So it would come off the tracks. It would actually go on a turntable, which is at the center of the roundhouse. It kind of looks like a little bridge that moves around in a circle, but it will deliver the trains to whatever stall it needs to be at for its inspection.
Mm-hmm. I guess the stars of the show, if you will, at Steamtown are the engines themselves, and some of them are pretty old and historic, aren't they?
Yeah, we have quite a few really incredible steam locomotives that are quite old. The one that gets a lot of attention is Engine 26. It is still an operating steam locomotive, and you can take train rides on it. It was built in 1929, which means it's 96 years old. We also have a train that just celebrated its 100th birthday, and that is the 6039, the Grand Trunk Western, and it is our feature train for RailFest 2025.
Yeah, we'll talk about a bit more. I know you have some events coming up here shortly, so we'll talk a little bit about those. But for somebody who's just walking in the doors there, obviously you you can see an awful lot of different things. What are some of the main highlights that people are drawn to?
It's very nice just being in the roundhouse and seeing all the stalls, seeing the operating turntable, seeing the trains on display. There is a history museum that explains the history of railroading and of the DL&W. In the technology museum, it goes into a little bit more depth about the different ways that railroads operate, how a steam locomotive works. There's a cutaway to demonstrate how steam is generated in the boiler and makes those big wheels move underneath the train. If you don't understand how a steam locomotive works, you definitely want to probably start with the technology museum. But then, of course, you'll get to see some of the steam locomotives for yourself in the roundhouse. We also have a locomotive shop tour that goes into a little bit more in depth. That is an area of the park where you can only go if you have authorized personnel with you, so a park ranger or a volunteer. And that person will show you some of the machines and equipment that we use to do our repairs and restorations on our collection.
Yeah, that's one of the neat features I think about it, is that it's not just a stodgy museum with things behind ropes, but very much hands-on, and it's actually a working, active rail yard.
Yeah, and that's actually why you do need to be in the locomotive shop with one of the rangers, is to keep you safe. They're working. There's cranes going. There's equipment being moved around. So it's really for your safety that we don't want anyone wandering back there without an interpretive ranger. But also to help you understand what's happening and what you're seeing, because it can be really overwhelming in that space if you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I guess a lot of this technology, which one back in the day was cutting edge, it would be pretty foreign to folks these days.
Yeah, one thing you won't see in the locomotive shop is a computer.
That'd be refreshing.
Yeah, lots of buttons and levers and switches, but no computers. So our machinists, they have a really important job, because what they're doing is passing down knowledge of how to do some of these repairs and restorations and how to use the machines that they use that are specific to the history of railroading.
Mm-hmm. And Scranton certainly is rich, isn't it, when it comes to the history of rail?
Yeah, super important during the Industrial Revolution. Anthracite coal, of course, being a really important part of the region, delivering that coal for people to use to heat their homes or to heat steam engines in factories. Very profitable as well. A lot of people in a lot of different industries made a lot of money because of the DL&W.
Rail was king for a long time. Let's talk about a couple of the events I know are coming up there. One of them is very soon, is the Arts in the Park weekend. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, this is great for people who love the National Park Service. It is the National Park Service's birthday. And so to celebrate, we're focusing on some of the art and artists that make up the NPS experience. Before people could readily visit these sites and take their own pictures of their sites, they relied on the artwork of various people to understand and appreciate the beauty of the National Park Service. And of course, during the Great Depression, there was a program called the WPA designed to employ artists, and also their artwork encouraged people to potentially go and visit some of these national park sites.
Neat. A little lesser known aspect of the WPA. And that's sort of a prelude to a really big event coming up Labor Day weekend that's known as RailFest. Tell us about that.
RailFest is going to be so much fun. If you are a regular visitor of Steamtown National Historic Site, you're going to want to come, because there's going to be a brand new set of experiences and demonstrations and visiting equipment to take a look at. It's just going to have a very fun vibe. It's going to be very festive. It's going to be a celebration of railroading history and trains and steam locomotives. Of course, we'll have our regular short train rides, tours of the big boy cab. We'll have some hand car experiences for visitors. The locomotive shop will be open, and our staff will be doing demonstrations of some of the machines that they use, which is really kind of the only time of the year to see these really cool machines working for yourself. So definitely something to see. If you've been to a locomotive shop tour and wondered how those machines work, you can see that happen during RailFest 2025.
Right, and this actually marks Steamtown's 30th anniversary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So our museum complex, our grand opening was in 1995. We're going to replicate some of those super cool events and things that happened on that day to the best of our ability. But we're hoping to draw a large crowd. We'll have music, lots of fun, and hopefully lots of learning too about railroading history. We did publish a program program for the events on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on our website. You will be able to buy tickets for the short train rides ahead of time, but also on the day of the event. Overall, though, the event is free. The only thing we are charging for are train rides. So overall, it is a free event. You can see and do a lot of stuff with your family at no cost to you. There will also be a shuttle service if you want to go over to the Italian Festival and get some good eats. So really just a lot of wonderful things happening in Scranton at the same time and lots of opportunities to celebrate with your family.
Steamtown National Historic Site Ranger Erica Kennedy. And this has been Family Life Staycations, a weekly summertime feature highlighting great places to visit around the Family Life listening area. Please join us again next time as we hit the road again for another Family Life Staycation. Come on! Family Life Staycations airs Friday in the summer during the Noon Report or online anytime. You can find it at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, or of course at familylife.org. Just ahead, a divine appointment to save a life.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A cold front is slowly pushing through the area. It is resulting in lowering humidity for many of us, but it'll still be in range to produce a pop-up shower for some. Heading into the weekend, it looks like some overall pleasant conditions as the weekend begins. Showers and storms are on the increase, though, as the weekend ends. For this afternoon, sunshine, scattered mixed clouds. Almost anyone is fair game for an isolated shower. Best chance for a shower or thunderstorm will be across eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures in the 80s, that humidity heading down. Tonight turns out mainly clear, low temps dropping towards 60. For tomorrow and Saturday, a good deal of sunshine, although an isolated shower or thunderstorm cannot be ruled out across central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures ranging in the 80s, humidity on the increase on Saturday. Showers and storms likely region-wide then on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Finally at noon, he knows it was just meant to be. Maybe you saw the viral video of a man braving deep floodwaters in Harrison County, Tennessee. It's just over a week ago. Maybe, though, you didn't hear the backstory here. The man in that video was 22-year-old Trey Plemons, a construction worker who'd stopped by his shop to grab some supplies and wound up at the highway intersection where he and others saw a woman in an SUV with water up to the windows and sinking, her panicked face visible through the glass. Another person also trapped in his truck shot that now viral video as Plemons wades out and breaks the window on the woman's Honda and pulls her out to safety. He tells WRCB in Chattanooga he's convinced it was no accident, that he was there.
I couldn't have done it without him. I think it was just the situation I was in. I think God put me there. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those things. If I wouldn't have had them, with me, I think I would have done the same thing still. But they were definitely a lot of help.
Says he never did get her name, but everyone in Chattanooga and a lot of other places now know the name of Good Samaritan Troy Plemons, though it likely won't go to his head. His boss says Troy is incredibly humble, not much of a talker. He's just a doer. And that's the world we live in for Friday, August 22nd, 2025. As always, we thank you for listening. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
You've been listening to The Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.